Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Spiritual Wickedness in High Places. This is basically centered around a video that Elder Pastor did with the pelacaras, and that's pretty much face peelers. And this is something that's been going on. I was just looking at I guess it was a vlog or a blog where this Edomite visited, down in that area back in October of 2022. This is when the blog was written, and pretty much this is something that's been going on, whether it's man-made or Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shai that created these things. It remains to be seen, but no matter what it is, whether man-made or the Lord made it, this is either way it goes. It's the Lord, bringing judgment upon, those tribes down there because they are wicked. They're doing all kind of manner of abominations, worshiping all type of idols. So the Lord is allowing this, whether He allowed Esau to make it and they're getting dealt with that way, or whether the Lord is actually doing this. And that's why, I was looking for a title, and the title came to me, Spiritual Wickedness in High Places, because most people don't understand that the Most High creates both good and evil, and that there is a council in the heavens, when you go back into the history, where the Most High has the righteous angels and the wicked angels. And He controls both sides. He created both sides. He controls both sides. Now, when we read in Ephesians 6 and 12, it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood," because we're battling a battle, but it's not a flesh and blood battle. Because the battle that we're battling is a spiritual battle. And the spirits on the left-hand side, pretty much are on a rampage, and this is why it's more a mental battle than a physical one, because it's mostly in the mind that we battling, even though some brothers have physical ailments, but it's a constant battle of the mind, because these demons are trying to get as many brothers as they can, to, and sisters, to fall and falter. But the only ones that's going to fall and falter are the ones that are not a part of the elect. So it says, but against principalities. Now, principalities are a hierarchy of demons, that are sent for the sole purpose of just causing havoc on the earth. Remember, Satan, when he was speaking with the Most High, he said he was walking to and fro on the earth. Pretty much what he was doing was causing havoc. And how do we know that? Because Job's children were put to death, Job's merchandise and cattle and stuff were taken. That was the spiritual demon Satan stirring up, these situations. And also when we go to the time during Yahushai, when those evil spirits that were in the man they called Legion, and he was casting them out, they said, "You come to torment us before the time." So you have spirits that are set out here to cause all this type of havoc, right? It says against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. So we're battling spirits and the rulers of the darkness of this world, or Cosmo Krator in the Greek, are that goes into the so-called international banking families, because they on the left-hand side have their priesthood, and they are constantly, sending up curses, putting curses, sending spirits, to try to mess with brothers and the few sisters that believe in this, and it's a constant battle, It says again, and this is the point right here, because it says here, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, because Esau is working on the left-hand side with those spirits that the Lord gave them power over, and they are, pretty much trying to sick them against us. But, we set up curses against them also, you know. And the scriptures say that, you can't curse who the Most High blessed, you know. There's no enchantments against Jacob. Now, will the Lord try us? Of course. Look what he did to Job, a righteous man. So it's not us that he's not going to try. So it says, um, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And this scripture right here cuts these so-called Christians, because how can Satan be cast out of heaven when we're fighting and battling spiritual wickedness? We're in high places. What are the high places? Up in the heavens. And when you go back into the history, you see that there was a council that the Most High had, with those spirits, up in the heavens, both on the right hand and the left hand, and he was taking suggestions from both sides, and the council, or the suggestion that he went with, was a lying spirit. So a lying spirit is not a righteous spirit; it's a wicked spirit, and that wicked spirit was up in the heavens on the left hand side of the Most High, because he creates both good and evil. And most Christians don't understand that, and even when you break it down to them, they won't accept it. So let's go from there, because the elder pastor mentioned something in his lesson, that the Lord was going to visit this place. So we're going to start off with 2nd Ezra 9:1, because what we're witnessing now, with all of these things happening worldwide, is the Lord visiting the earth in whatever different fashion or form is happening, with chaos, with these storms, with this destructive power, these financial woes, these uproars of these people, and just in general everything that you see going on. It says, this is 2nd Ezra 9:1. He answered me then and said, measure out the time diligently in itself. So how do we measure the time? By reading the scriptures, seeing what the scriptures say prophecy wise, and looking on the earth to see when these things are being fulfilled. And when thou seest part of the signs past, what signs? The signs that the Lord spoke about and told us about, which I have told thee before. That's why I said, matter of fact, let's get real quick the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, I believe it is, and verse 9. It says, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them. That's why it says here, back in 2nd Ezra 9, in the middle of 1, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before. Because remember, he told the prophet Habakkuk that at the end it shall speak and not lie. And we're witnessing the prophecy speaking right now, loud and clear, on all levels. It says, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. And believe it or not, the chariot appearances and these different things that we're hearing about, whether the Lord made it happen or Esau created certain things, it all goes back to the Most High, because man's goings are of the Lord. These are the things, these are part of the visitings that the Lord is bringing upon the earth. Now let's go from there to the book of Isaiah, back to Isaiah, and let's go to the 29th chapter and the 6th verse. It says, thou shalt be visited of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai of hosts, with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. So with all these so-called natural disasters, the Lord will visit the earth, and he will also visit the earth by way of these, strange phenomenons, for lack of better words, that are happening worldwide. Like the instance with this Pelacata situation, which is fixed pillar, and I believe the Apostle Tar mentioned, he mentioned redacted in another video he did, and I was watching the video. I watched some of it the other day. I was watching a little bit earlier before I set up the video, and pretty much when they were describing what they were describing, the other Edomite dude that was speaking with Clayton Morris, all I could keep thinking about was the movie Predator. I kept thinking of the movie Predator, how, because in that in that I typed in and I scrolled down. There was one site that was in Spanish. It said "Pela cara de la selva," right? And that means the face pillar of the jungle. Selva, Selva. That's jungle in Spanish. So it said "Pela cara de la selva," face pillar of the jungle, or the jungle face pillar. And that made me think of the Predator. You know how you had that one so-called alien-looking thing that would appear, disappear. It would be, uh, um, see-through, but you could kind of still see the outline of it, and that's what I thought about. And as I was meditating on that and listening to the video, the Edomite guy, he came out and said the same thing. I said, yeah, see, that's a confirmation that what I was thinking was true, which, like I said, whether it's Esau that's doing it or the Most High, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's the Lord anyway. So let's go to Psalms chapter 78, verse 40. Now, this is going into the history of the deliverance of the Israelites from Egypt and being in the wilderness, all right, and how the Egyptian army was following hard after our forefathers, right? So it says Psalm 78:40. How oft did they provoke him in the wilderness and grieve him in the desert, meaning Israel, provoking Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Yea, they turned back and tempted the Most High and limited the Holy One of Israel, as they do today. They're limiting the Holy One of Israel. In other words, the Lord can't make these things happen because Esau is just too powerful, that they don't believe that the Most High can make these things happen. It says they remember not his hand, nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy, right? Because that mighty hand or that mighty deliverance wasn't because Israel was so great, because they didn't do that. They were the ones fleeing. So it was the Most High that actually gave them, that great deliverance. It says, somebody said they had to speak to me. I don't know how that's gonna happen, bro. I don't know who you are. Have to speak to me about a vision that you had. I mean, you could post it on there if you want, but I mean, I don't know how I would or how you would be able to speak to me. I don't know who you are, brother. It says how he had wrought his signs in Egypt and his wonders in the field of Zoan, and had turned their rivers into blood and their floods that they could not drink. This is going into the plagues of Egypt. He sent divers sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor unto the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. He gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He cast upon them the fierceness, and pretty much, those are the 10 plagues of Egypt, and how the Lord pretty much judged the ancient Egyptians prior to the deliverance of the nation of Israel. And right now we're seeing these things happening, but they're going to intensify as we get closer and closer to the deliverance. The contractions of America, Babylon the Great, are going to intensify. Remember, it said, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So as we read, that's why the Lord said he will plague Egypt again with plagues as before. So the Lord is going to cause certain things to happen here in America, which are already happening, similar or different from ancient Egypt. It's whatever the Lord wants, to bring out. It doesn't have to necessarily be those same 10 plagues. It doesn't have to be 10 plagues. It could be more, it could be less. But nevertheless, it's going to be, intense. So the verse 49 is the main verse here, where it says, he cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, meaning upon the Egyptians, wrath and indignation and trouble, because they were troubled at that time, you know. Yeah, the water, the elder, not the Zakba, he said just go to the regular comment board and just type it on there, you know. So it says, he cast upon him the fierceness of his anger, wrath, and indignation and trouble. Right. So these same troubles that happened back then are going to happen again today. Because remember, we're coming into a time of trouble such as was never seen ever since there was a nation, even to that same time. And it says, at that time, shall thy people be delivered. This is why Yahweh Shai, Michael the archangel, the other archangels, and the rest of the angels are coming, because they're coming to do battle with Esau and the nations, and they're coming to deliver the elect of the nation of Israel. Right? It says, by sending evil angels among them. So now, could this situation in Nazca, Peru, I believe the place is called, with the Pelacara en la Selva, or the face pillars in the jungle, could this be a case of the Lord sending evil angels among them? This is very possible, because, you have the left-hand side and you have the right-hand side, the righteous angels and you have the wicked angels, and pretty much, those wicked angels could be what the Lord is using down there in Peru to judge Jake out there. Because remember, Jake out there, they are Israelites, but they're still wicked. You don't know what the hell they're doing on there. You don't know what kind of abominations they're eating. And now, check this out. You have brothers out there teaching in Ecuador, in Peru, in different parts of South America, in Mexico, and all that. So they're without excuse. You have the different islands. I'm just dealing with the Northern Kingdom right now. You have different islands out there where the word is being taught and Jake ain't listening. So remember, before the Lord brings judgment, he brings the warning. He sends the prophets out. And now that the warning has gone out, this could very well be check that out. It says the elder said that the brothers from Peru said that it's cartel territory. So see, so that's the Lord bringing judgment down there upon them. And I didn't even know that, but check that out. That's heavy. That also they said a lot of witchcraft. See, and that's a lot of shit that's going on down. That's why the Lord is bringing judgment upon them. So it could be either whether it's Esau or whether it's the Most High. The Lord is bringing judgment upon them. He's bringing judgment upon them because, those beings could very well be, evil angels, as the Lord sent among the ancient Egyptians to F them up. Now, let's go from there. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiasticus, right? Let's go to the book of Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. Just bear with me real quick. Ecclesiasticus chapter 39. Some of you brothers already know where I'm going. Chapter 39. And let's go to the verse 28. All right, this is Ecclesiasticus 39:28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance. And I'm pretty sure brothers that did lessons on it or mentioned this, if they did, I'm pretty sure scriptures like this were already brought out for those veterans out there that are, that are veterans in the knowledge, but there be spirits that are created for vengeance. So whether it's, angelic forces created for vengeance, whether they be animals or creatures, whether it be humans that are just created for the sole purpose of bringing judgment upon the world, Yep, that's right. Like the elder put, we just read that too. That's heavy. He said he gave up, Psalm 78:40, he gave up their cattle also to the hail and their flocks to the hot thunderbolts. Yep. And so pretty much, where there also be a human out there that is a vigilante or that is a serial killer, these are all spirits that were born specifically for the purpose of the Lord sending out vengeance. That's why I said there be spirits that are created for vengeance, and this could also apply to these entities. It It says, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. See, they lay on sore strokes. They call them pelacada. They beat the shit out of people. They kill them. They rip off their faces. That could very well be the Lord sending evil angels among them. Yeah, because as the brother posted, yep, the Lord creates both sides. He creates good and he creates evil. It says, in the time of destruction, because we're coming to the very end. And remember, South America is not going to be destroyed. So the Lord is bringing judgment upon those tribes down there. In the time of destruction, they shall pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. So they're pouring out their force down there. Whether man-made or the Lord sent these evil angels down there. They're pouring out their force upon Jake down there for punishment upon them. To what? To appease the wrath of him that made them. Because the Lord is the one that's bringing forth this destruction down there. Whether man-made or not. Whether they are actual angels, evil angels that the Lord sent among them, looking crazy. Because the Lord could do that. Hey, well, no, the Lord can't do that. Well, when you read Revelation, you have, those different spirits that had all kind of eyes over them. There's different entities that the Lord creates. You can't limit the Most High. Now, in the case of certain scriptures where it speaks about the eyes, that's speaking about the angels that are everywhere. They take up, they take account of everything that you see going on, and they go back and report it to the Most High. But there are also different entities that the Lord creates that are horrible. The Most High himself said that no man can look at his face and live. It says fire and hail and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. And that's what we're seeing right now. Vengeance being brought upon the earth. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword punishing the wicked to destruction. Right, because Jake down there ain't gonna repent. The Lord, it's no coincidence that the Lord got brothers out there teaching, prophets out there teaching on the streets, warning them of these things. And you don't think those people hear? Just because they don't listen don't mean that they ain't here. Just because they don't get involved don't mean that they didn't hear the word. So this could be the Lord. Either way, it's the Lord anyway. This is the Lord bringing judgment down there, whether it's man-made or whether the Lord sent the evil angels among them. They shall rejoice in his commandment, because nothing that the Lord creates, as far as being in the spirit realm, disobey his words. The disobedience comes from men on the earth, not the spirits in the heavens, whether righteous or wicked, because they're all in perfect order with the Most High. Satan himself is in perfect order with the Most High. He is a son of the Most High. It says they shall rejoice in his commandment. And there's another scripture that speaks about that they will not disobey his word or something along those lines in the Apocrypha, I believe it is. And and they shall be ready upon earth. See, they shall be ready upon earth when need be. That's everything. The elder just put that precept up. Yep, we're going to get that precept next. They shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is. Because now is the time that the Lord is using to bring forth these judgments. When need is. So this is the time. This is as the Lord said, at the end it shall speak and not lie. In the time of visitation. We're in the time of visitation. The Lord is visiting the earth with with vengeance, punishments. It says, and when their time is come, they shall not transgress his word, because they're going to accomplish what the Lord said they would accomplish. All right? And woe be to anyone that stands in the way of the Lord. So this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 11. Elder posted this one. It says in verse 17, it says, for thy almighty hand that made the world of matter without form wanted not means to send among them the multitude of bears or fierce lions. Right, this was dealing with the old inhabitants, those Hamites, or unknown wild beasts full of rage, newly created. So the Lord can create something. Those beings, whether Esau created or the Most High just sent the angels, they could have just been created out of nothing, out of thin air, just like everything we see was created out of nothing, out of the elements that were there. Right? Newly created, breathing out either a fiery vapor or filthy scents of scattered smoke or shooting horrible sparkles out of their eyes. Right? Because remember, the Predator in the movie Predator, he had lasers that he was shooting at those men. That's why they were getting effed up, because they didn't have the ability to fight against these things. They didn't have the capability or the power to resist. And this shows you that these producers know certain scriptures, and they know that the angels have that power that these devils cannot handle. This is why there's reports that, look, we know that this weaponry is hundreds and thousands of years more advanced than anything that we have. And the very thing that they have that is their top prize for defense is what? Nuclear missiles, hypersonic missiles. And those things are not going to do anything, because there was a video where pretty much the chariot took over a particular base, military base, and took over their missile system. So they're defenseless against the coming of Yahushua and the angels, and they know this. But to the public, they got to keep a stiff upper lip. All right. So now let's go from there. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, same book, but this time let's go to the 17th chapter. We're gonna kind of jump around in this one because the whole chapter is good, and this chapter here is solely based on the darkness that covered the land of Egypt, one of the 10 plagues. So let's start at verse 1, and we'll just read a little bit and kind of jump around. For great are thy judgments and cannot be expressed. Therefore unnurtured souls have erred. This is dealing with the Egyptians. For when unrighteous men thought to oppress the holy nation, meaning the nation of Israel, they being shut up in their houses, the prisoners of darkness. So what happened to Ra? The sun god Ra. Those 3 days of darkness, thick darkness. What happened to him? Why he couldn't come and defend his people, be a shield against the Most High, and block that darkness and bring the light to these people. Because the whole world was in the light, except for Egypt. The Egyptians were in darkness for 3 days. It says, the prisoners of darkness and fettered with the bonds of a long night lay there exiled from the eternal providence. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't do business. They couldn't tend to their cattle. They couldn't, tend to their land. They couldn't have their slaves do anything. It was the Lord shut them down for 3 days, 3 whole days. It says, for while they supposed to lie hid in their secret sins, right, they didn't think they would ever be visited for that. And America, which is Babylon the Great, which is the new Egypt, is going to be visited of her sins, her iniquities. The scriptures even say those sins and iniquities that have been covered up, those are going to be disclosed. It's nothing, all the blood that you shed that is written is going to be dealt with. And all of the blood that you shed that nobody knows about, that people forgot about. But the Most High didn't forget, though. It says, they were scattered under a dark veil of forgetfulness, being horribly astonished and troubled with strange apparitions. Like the Pelacaras is a strange apparition, which could be created by the Most High. It is created by the Most High. I got to stop saying could be, because whether it's created by Esau or the Most High caused it to appear, it all pertains to the Most High. Bear with me 1 second. I'm looking up this word apparition just to give you a sense of what it means. Those of you that don't know, apparition just simply means like a ghostly figure. Apparition supernatural appearance or manifestation. So in Egypt, ancient Egypt, the Lord troubled them in that darkness with strange apparitions. They could have been monstrous, horrible, monstrous apparitions. The Lord can create that. It says, used in reference, let's see, to the epiphany, blah, blah, blah. But the main point, we got the main point, because the word apparition means to appear. It says supernatural appearance or manifestation, apparition, appear, which is a ghostly or some type of entity that appears, to scare the bejesus out of people. For neither might the corner that held them keep them from fear, but noises as of water falling down sounded about them, and sad visions appeared unto them with heavy countenances. So these are all demonic entities that the Lord caused to appear before these people, for their mistreatment of his people, the Israelites. And the scriptures say that the Lord is going to visit Esau and destroy him and these nations for what? For the controversy of Zion. For destroying the holy people. Yeah, Jake is fucked up. Jake is wicked. But guess what? You put your hands on the people of the Most High, the Israelites, and you're going to have to pay for that, regardless of how wicked these Israelites out here are. It says no power of the fire might give them light. So even if they could have brought out the hottest glowing torches, with the brightest lights, and they still wouldn't have been able to light that night. It says very dreadful, for being much terrified. No power of the fire might give them light, neither could the bright flames of the stars endure to lighten the horrible night. Right. Only they appeared unto them a fire kindled of itself, very dreadful. For being much terrified, they thought the things which they saw to be worse than the sight they saw not. Right, because there were, imagine just being somewhere that's dark and you hear all these noises and all this stuff, wild beasts and running water, and you're thinking you're gonna drown, you think you're gonna get bit by some crazy, wild animal, and there's nothing really there. Just the Lord, causing these things to happen to scare these people to where they died of heart attacks, strokes, and all of that. And then he actually sent actual apparitions to them. As for the illusion of art magic, meaning they're magicians, it says they were put down, and their vaunting in wisdom was reproved with disgrace. Right, they were disgraced because there was nothing that they could do to make these things go away. Here it is, you had all these answers and all this magic that you were doing before the Pharaoh, and you couldn't do any magic to get out of that situation yourself. So the Lord, that's what the Lord says, stand up now with thine enchantments. This modern day Egypt, this Babylon the Great, stand up with thy enchantments and with the monthly prognosticators to see if they can deliver you from these things that come. Just like the ancient Egyptians couldn't deliver them, the modern Egyptians are not going to deliver them. The ancient Magi's couldn't deliver them. The ancient Magi's couldn't deliver them. The modern Magi's are not going to be able to deliver them. Janus and Jambres couldn't do shit for the Pharaoh. So the modern day Janus and Jambres today is not going to do shit for the modern day Pharaoh. You're going to be dealt with severely. Inside joke. It says, for they that promised to drive away terrors and troubles from a sick soul were sick themselves of fear, worthy to be laughed at. That's what the Lord says, stand up now with thine enchantments. This modern day Egypt. You ain't going to be able to handle the angels. You ain't going to be able to handle the Most High. When he sends you Yahushua back with the angels. You're going to get fucked up. It says, for they that promised to drive away terrors and trouble from a sick soul were sick themselves of fear, worthy to be laughed at. So you're going to just imagine, the pompous pride of these Egyptians, and they were, magi, so they were talking all kind of shit, and they were so scared that you could laugh at them. So that's the same thing today. We're going to be laughing at these devils, when they start catching his hell. For though no terrible thing did fear them, yet being scared with beasts that pass by and hissing of serpents. So imagine that. They're in this darkness and they're hearing all of these different sounds, which are not really there. And there were appearances too. It says, they died for fear, denying that they saw the air, which could of no side be avoided. For wickedness condemned by her own witness is very timorous, and being pressed with conscience always forecasted grievous things, right? Because the worst is the mind. This is why the prophet said, give me any plague but the plague of the mind. Any wickedness but the wickedness of a woman, and any plague but the plague of the mind. Because once the mind is plagued, it's hard to get out of that situation. You see these people that lost their mind, that are mad, that their mind is gone. Your mind is not right. You see how effed up they are. So these people, those few nights, they were all messed up. It says, for fear is nothing else but a betraying of the succors which reason offereth, right? Because our mind gives us reason, right? And that is what helps us understand things. But their reasoning was taken away from them. So that help that they had in reasoning these things out was taken away from them. So it betrayed them. All right? It says, and the expectation from within being less, counted the ignorance more than the cause which bringeth the torment, right? Because as you brothers know, sometimes in our minds we create a situation more than what it really is. We make things harder more than what they really should be because of our minds. We give ourselves over to those thoughts sometimes, and the situation is not as bad as we made it to seem once you sit down and analyze the situation. It says, I'm just going to jump around a little bit. Matter of fact, let me read the next couple of verses. But they sleep in the same sleep that night, which was indeed intolerable. Yeah, they were pretty much insomniacs. And which came upon them out of the bottoms of inevitable hell, meaning out of death, were partly vexed with monstrous apparitions. So these monstrous apparitions right now that are happening down in Peru, could very well be the same monstrous apparitions that happened in ancient Egypt. And the Lord is using that to what? To kick Jake in the ass down there and to appease his anger so that he don't totally destroy them like he does the nations. Because remember with Israel, he only corrects Jake in measure. He doesn't bring the full fury of his wrath upon them. Slakia, were partly vexed with monstrous apparitions and partly fainted, their heart failing them, for a sudden fear and not looked for came upon them, because these people never thought that would happen to them down there, just like the Egyptians never thought that they would be in darkness and have these strange monstrous apparitions appear to them. So these people down there in the jungles of Peru, they never thought in the million years this would happen. They never thought they'd be seeing these apparitions. And like I said, whether man-made or the Lord, created them, actually sent evil angels among them, it's the Lord doing it anyway. So then whosoever there fell down was straitly kept, shut up in a prison without iron bars, right? Because there were no bars there. But they were so afraid and such in fear and in that darkness that it was like if they were in a prison. But the prison was without bars and they couldn't get out. Knowing the terror of the Lord, we persuade men. Let's see. And that's pretty much it. There's a few more, matter of fact, no, you know what? 18, verse 18. Where there were a whistling wind, or a melodious noise of birds among the spreading branches, or a pleasing fall of water running violently, or a terrible sound of stones cast down, or a running that could not be seen of skipping beasts, or a roaring voice of most savage wild beasts, or a rebounding echo from the hollow mountains. These things made them swoon for fear. They were fainting. For the whole world shined with clear light, and none were hindered in their labor. Over them only was spread in heavy night, an image of that darkness which should afterward receive them. But yet were they yet but yet were they unto themselves more grievous than the darkness. You know, the Lord terrified them devils, man. Um, let's go from there to the book of Second Maccabees, and the elder pastor touched on this. He actually read this precept in the next video that he did after the Pelacara video. You know, but this is also a good one because it shows you how the Most High, sends angels to kick people in the ass. In this case, it was, the righteous angels, but in the case of, the Egyptians, it was the evil angels that the Lord sent among them. We read that in the book of Psalm 70. No, you just made that up. Well, you need to go search the scriptures, my dude. All right, so this is 2 Maccabees 3. We're going to start at verse 7 and we're going to jump around a little bit. It says, Now when Apollonius came to the king, meaning to Seleucus, and had showed him of the money whereof he was told, meaning the money that was in the temple of Jerusalem, the king chose out Heliodorus, his treasurer, and sent him commandment to bring him the foresaid money. And I believe the name Heliodorus, Helio is son, and Doris could be gift of the son. So this was the man that was sent to collect this money from the temple. So forthwith Heliodorus took his journey under a color of visiting the cities of Seleucia and Phoenix, but indeed to fulfill the king's purpose. So he did this under the color, meaning it was a pretense, so that he was acting like he was visiting some other places, but he was really going to collect the money from the treasury of Israel. So now let's jump down to the 13th verse. But Heliodorus, because of the king's commandment given him, said that in any wise it must be brought into the king's treasury. Right, and this brought trouble to the heart of Anias III, which was a high priest at the time, a righteous man, and to Israel. So they prostrated themselves, they prayed to the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and the Lord seen that, and he had compassion. See, you don't F with the Most High, man. When Jake turns to the Father, in one accord, man, all bets are off. These heathens get fucked up, But this is why the Lord ain't going to allow that to happen, because if all Israel right now, all the Jakes that are out in the world right now turn to the east and pray to the Lord, he will bring this devil down. But he won't do that because of his word. He won't break his word for anything, so he won't allow that to happen, because he's going to come and take this place out in his time. All right, so verse 23, it says, Nevertheless, Heliodorus executed that which was decreed. Now, as he was there present himself with his guard about the treasury, the Lord of spirits, which is the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and the Prince of all power, caused a great apparition. See, a great apparition, just like we read about these different Egyptians. But this apparition that came about, or this appearance, was a righteous appearance, as to where the one in Egypt was an evil appearance. So that all that presumed to come in with him were astonished at the power of the Most High and fainted and were sore afraid. So the only one that really caught this ass whooping from heaven was Heliodorus. It says, For there appeared unto them an horse with a terrible rider upon him, meaning a chariot, and the rider is the angel, and adorned with a very fair covering. And he ran fiercely and smote at Heliodorus with his forefeet. So he was fucking that devil up. And it seemed that he that sat upon the horse had complete harness of gold. This was a beautiful chariot, splendor, golden splendor. Moreover, 2 other young men appeared before him, notable in strength, excellent in beauty, and comely in apparel, who stood by him on either side. So they were playing ping pong with Heliodorus. They were playing tennis with Heliodorus, and scourged him continually and gave him many sore stripes. So they were beating the shit out this devil, just like those creatures down in Peru, fucking Jacob down there, beating their ass. So like I said, that could be, the Lord sent evil angels among them, or the Lord caused Esau to create some crazy shit. It remains to be seen. It says, so now let's jump down from there to the 28th verse. Matter of fact, I'll read a little bit more. And Heliodorus fell suddenly unto the ground and was compassed with great darkness. There go that darkness. Because the reason why he was in darkness is because he had no reasoning in his mind. There was nothing that he could do or say. Nothing that he could, there was no knowledge and understanding in him to explain this situation. That's why he was in great darkness. But they that were with him took him up and put him into a litter, right? Because he was without help. He was fucked up. He was within an inch of his life. Thus him that lately came with a great train with all his guard into the said treasury, they came out to help himself with his weapons, and manifestly they acknowledged the power of the Most High. So he said, man, don't be messing with this place. He got such an ass whooping that he never forgot that ass whooping ever. Hell of an ass whooping, boy. God damn. Then I scourged that boy. Then I scourged him real good. Verse 34. And seeing that thou hast been scourged from heaven, declare unto all men the mighty power of the Most High. And when they had spoken these words, they appeared no more. So the sight, the angels disappeared. It says, so Heliodorus, after he had offered sacrifice unto the Lord and made great vows unto him that had saved his life, and saluted Onias, returned with his host to the king. Then testified he to all men the works of the great power which he had seen with his eyes. And when the king Heliodorus, who might, the king, this is misprint here. When the king, meaning Seleucus, asked Heliodorus, who might be a fit man to be sent yet once again to Jerusalem, he said, if thou hast any enemy or traitor, send him thither, and thou shalt receive him well scourged, if he escape with his life. For in that place, no doubt, there is an especial power of the Most High. For he that dwelleth in heaven hath his eye on that place, and defendeth it, and he beateth and destroyeth them that hurt it. So pretty much, these jakes down there in Peru, they are hurting, the law, statutes, and commandments because they are Israelites. And the brothers are out there teaching. So there's no excuse. So the Lord is bringing judgments upon those places. You have brothers out there in Ecuador, So now let's go from there to the last precept, and we could close out there. We're going to go to the book of Zechariah, chapter 5. There's only 4 verses. We're going to read that and then close out, because the point is made. The heading says the flying scroll. Zechariah 5:1. Then I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. This was a chariot, UAP, UFO, pretty much, in Spanish they also have the same thing, and the acronym in Spanish is also an unidentified flying object. They call it an ovni. And that translates to what UFO translates to, unidentified flying object. Okay, because the first letter is objeto, the second one V, volador, and then NI is like not recognized. Verse 2. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. So he was able to give a measurement from what he saw from where he was at. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth over the face of the whole earth. So this situation in Peru could very well be, the Lord sending evil angels among them as a curse. And they are Israelites, so they're being jacked up for being wicked. But these chariots are really set up to destroy Esau and the nations. For everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief Esau, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof, right? Because the chariots are going to send fire from the lasers, along with the missiles that are going to be shot upon this place. And this is how this place is going to go out. This is why Yahweh Shai said, I am come to send fire on earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? So pretty much this has been spiritual wickedness in high places. So that situation down in Peru with the Pelacara, those could be the Lord sending evil angels among Jake down there to bust them up, to scourge them. Or it could be something that Esau created, in a lab experiment to mess with them people. But I believe more so it could be the latter, the Most High sending those angels down there. Or it could be, we'll find out. So with that, I pray that you brothers and sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.